It's crunch time. The final round, the final race of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe Series. It's the 6th round of the championship, their 12th race of the year, and we are at, once again, the Autodrome of Vallelunga Piero Taruffi. Two men can win this championship. Three men can win this championship. Two cars separated by just 1.5 points, as it has been so close throughout the year. The Pro-Am category was sorted out in the penultimate round yesterday, but it comes down to the final crunch and this final race. Mattia Michelotto and Gilles Stadbader lead the championship coming to this round, but Brendan Leach is just a point and a half behind and has led most of the season. He's been consistent throughout the year. His race one, though, here in Vallelunga in round 5 on Sunday did not go to plan. It was the first time he missed the top 4 all year. It's a beautiful day in Vallelunga, in the countryside above Rome. 24 degrees track temperature, 18 degrees air temperature. It is the place you want to be in the middle of November, and the World Finals are coming this weekend, but we need to sort out the championship first. As I said, Italian and Belgian versus New Zealander. Brendan Leach is down on the grid with Dakota.
We are down here on a very hot grid. I am sitting beside Brendan. He's been waiting in the car for a little bit now. Brendan, yesterday was a very, very close race with lots of good battling. Is today going to be the same, or do you have a bit of an easier job?
Look, I think today it's important that we just stay out of trouble, but I'll just be giving it everything. And look, at the end of the day, we can just do as good as we can. So I'll push and see where we go. The guys that we're competing against are 5 rows back from us, and the Leipert team have prepared a great car, so I have no doubt that we will be flying.
Great. Good luck. Thanks very much.
And that's why potentially it could be an easier job today for Brendan Leach. Gilles Stadbader only qualifying on row 7 of the grid. 13th spot for the number 6 VSR car. And we do know that when Michelotto gets aboard that car, he will be very fast. But first of all, Gilles Stadbader needs to survive stint 1. It's Frederick Schandorf on the pole position. Him and Alex Au ended up missing out on winning the Pro-Am Championship by dint of effectively not finishing both round 5 races and yesterday's race for race 1, round 6. They have the people who did win the championship. Loris Spinelli will start the car. He won yesterday to give Andrei Lewandowski the Pro-Am Championship. It's 2 Pro-Am cars on the front of the grid with their pro drivers. And then pole position for the pro category, not going to Brendan Leach. He would have loved that point. Brendan was beaten by Largim Ali, the number 9 machine, picking up the pole position in pro, 3rd position on the grid. There is the all-black machine run by Target Racing. Largim Ali very strong, hands that car over to Oliver Söderström for the second part. See how many races the car has done. All of the scrutineering stickers on the A-pillar. Brendan's got a very sensible head on those shoulders. It was slightly ruffled in race 1 on round 5, so last Sunday morning. He got roughed up in turn 10, and then he spun again later on in his first stint and ended up off the podium for the first time in the season. But he seemed pretty chilled, didn't he? He seemed pretty relaxed. Rolling down the grid, the beautiful colors of these Lamborghinis. There is Ugo de Wilde. Also took victory in race 2 of round 5 of the championship. So de Wilde with its first victory with Ricardo Testa in effectively this race, but on Sunday, because race 1 is qualified by one driver, race 2 is qualified by the other driver. And Ricardo Testa qualifying on row 5, so 9th position. We'll have work to do, therefore, to replicate what they were able to do on Sunday. Patchy, damp patches around the circuit still, but it is pretty much dry. Schandorf and Spinelli are on row 1. They are both the pros in the Pro-Am category. Lagamali takes pole position in Pro ahead of Brendan Leach. Leach does not share that car with anybody else and therefore will do the full race. Amaury Bonduel lines up behind him. He's also a single driver. And Artem Petrov joins the championship again as a single driver. Orotsiev, great qualifying in 7th spot. With 8th position going to Loris Cabarrou, Rodrigo Testa in 9th, and Arro Dan in 10th. Sebastian Balthazar 11th, Ricardo Ianello in 12th position, then Gilles Stadbader down on row 7. Jim Pla, 15th. Great to have him part of the championship. Carl Bash, they got themselves a podium last race. Filippo Bertob alongside him. Then Benjamin and Robert van den Berg, 19th. Sebastian Frame at 20th. Lorenzo Pegaroro in 21st. Marco Di Fulgencio in 22nd, Sebastian Guerla, and then Nigel Schonderberg, 24, shares that car with Jelmer Berman. Emmanuel Colombini, that car's very strong in race 1, but lines up 13th row alongside Matteo Paulini, Martin Rieber, Michael Fischbaum, and Douglas Bolger, not getting a time in and starting at the back of the field. That car started at the back of the field at race 1 as well, with Robert Greenwood sharing that car with Dougie Bolger. Great to have Michael Fischbaum back in the championship as well in the number 3 machine, sharing that car with Milos Pavlovic. And nice to see Martin Rieber back after missing the whole of round 5, having damaged that car in practice in the morning. Actually, the day before was a Saturday where the car was damaged, so they missed qualifying, missed both the races. They are back now with Eduardo Liberati, his home circuit, this circuit, back for the 2nd stint. It might be Friday, but the kids are out of school today and they've come down to watch Lamborghini racing. Not quite sure if that's allowed, but anyway, good on the school for allowing it. Air temperature 18 degrees, track temperature 25 degrees, humidity dropping. It's a beautiful day. I haven't actually been outside, but it is a beautiful day out there. There's Colombini, shares the car with Zonzini. Very good race 1s with Zonzini setting the qualifying time, but the AM driver in the Pro-Am lineup starting a bit further down the field. As with all the races here in Vallelunga, 2 warm-up laps. It is not a safety car start as we had from our AM and Lamborghini Cup guys. They were under safety car start because of the damp conditions this morning, early doors. But these pros, they can deal with a little bit of damp, and actually there's not a lot of damp left now. Just very, very humid. There was a bit of rain overnight, but the humidity in the morning left parts of the circuit pretty tricky for the AM and Lamborghini Cup race, which provided us with huge entertainment. So no need for the wet tyres. Here's the Oregon team, absolutely unique with those colourful Super Trofeos. I'm pretty sure the backboards of their awning haven't been changed. Certainly the logo hasn't been changed. What about that for a helmet design? Incredible. Now this is going to be a proper start, so they're going to be side by side as they come across the line, unlike we saw in the AM and Lamborghini Cup race where it was a single file restart after safety car. There's one of the Oregon coloured machines lining up alongside the Czech Republic liveried Karel Bash car, which Mechanic Motorsport have also liveried in a multitude of colours. Schandorf sitting in the middle of the road there. He's got Spinelli alongside. Nothing to be done in that championship now. It is just for honours, with Lendowski already taking the championship. They came in to the race 1 of the weekend, Au and Schandorf, with the possibility of winning the championship, but Au retired out of race 1, and therefore they are too far back now. waiting for the lights to go green, and we're racing for the final time in 2023 in the European Championship, heading down towards Curva Grande and Chimney 1, and it's already single file between the front four. Amélie Dombreuil holding on to 5th position. It's very, very tricky to go side by side. We've got a car on the grass, and it's a very slippery grass. It's who's going to fill his teammate Ricardo Testa, who is backwards through turn 1, and he's kept that car away from the rest of the field. Incredible work from the Portuguese driver. A scary accident, but he keeps it away from being a mammoth accident. Credit to Ricardo Testa, and it shows you do not want to get on the grass here. It's still very, very slippery offline. Schandorf leads, Spinelli second, Ali third. Further back, looks like Dan Arrow having to attack, trying to go down the inside of the 27 of Cabarrou. That makes that one work, opens the door for the Oregon car behind it, Balthazar, to come through, and he does so. So Loris Cabarrou not with the confidence in these early stages. There's one of the Lamborghini Roma machines, a Segu coming around the outside. Spinelli not really up to speed on this first lap in comparison to Schandorf. And all the Oregon cars at the back of the field squabbling over the same bit of tarmac. Over the line for the first time then, Frederick Schandorf, sharing with Alex Au, leads. And the gap to Spinelli, who was so strong on Sunday, 2 seconds on lap 1. Ali, Leach, Bonduel, Petrov, Orogiev, and then Ianello, Arrow, and Balthazar, your top 10, all together. Bit of gap now established behind Bonduel on Petrov. Petrov back in the championship. He was in the Pro-Am championship, sharing the car in Valencia, it was. Took over from Spinelli. And therefore, by doing this round in the Pro Championship, allows him to race in the World Finals. Brendan Leach having to defend a little bit from Amaury Bonduel. Where is his championship contender? Gilles Stampbader, 11th position. VSR car, doesn't have too many people around him by the looks of things. Schandorf goes through, Spinelli, Ali, Leach, Bonduel, Petrov starting to join that party now. And then there's a small gap to Ianello, who has just got past Orogiev. Brendan Leach late down the inside of the hairpin, and he's now side by side as they go towards the S's. Does he fade out of this one? No, they run side by side. Very, very dangerous through the S's to try and do that. There's Dan Arrow further back. Brendan Leach has still run side by side, but he's going to get this one done into Roma. Largamali tries to shut the door on Bonduel from coming through, but he can't do that. Bonduel was close enough to Brendan Leach, and Leach moves up into 3rd position. Doesn't need to, but he doesn't need to be held up either by slower cars, because he knows that in the second stint of this race, Michelotto will be on an absolute flying mission to close him down. Michelotto taking over the car that at the moment sits in 11th position. Gilles Stampbader has not made much progress in these first couple of laps. Big queue of cars coming through shot. There is Gilles Stampbader. Behind him, he's past Cabarrou, but not the progress that perhaps Michelotto would be looking for. Dan Arrow on the defensive from Ianello. And Brendan Leach straight onto the tail of Loris Spinelli here. Spinelli was in another world on Sunday, but it doesn't look as though in these early laps, and maybe Spinelli just thinking about tyre conservation for the second stint. Remember, he's handing his car over to Andrei Lewandowski, who will want the confidence in a good set of tyres. So, whilst in race 1, Spinelli was taking over the car and could just use the tyres up, when you're the starting driver, you do need to think about how the tyres will be in the second half of the race. Ricardo Testa under investigation for his start. I would give him a pat on the back for making sure we didn't have an absolutely massive accident. He does continue, and he's at the back of the field, 10 seconds off Colombini, but we could have had a huge mess of Super Trofeo cars, all that still needs to participate in the World Finals across the weekend. Spinelli is pacing himself here. We've got a queue of cars all the way down to 20th position. Or here's another thought. Is Spinelli playing the VSR team game? Is Spinelli trying to back up the pack to allow that number 6 car we just saw, which is his teammate, to progress through the field? Because Stadbader is in the middle of this pack. And they're all together, as you can see from that wonderful drone shot. Nothing separates second through to 20th position. Then there's only a small gap to Schondervoort. We know that Loris Spinelli can disappear up the road. I'm surprised at the moment that Spinelli is allowing Schandorf a 6.8 second lead. Spinelli's last lap, a 35.3. Schandorf, a 34.1. That's going to be the question for Dakota to ask Spinelli when he gets out the car. Brendan Leach's rear end dancing around under braking into Chimney 1. If you run a little bit wide there is still water sitting in the curbs. Motorbike circuits, the curbs are pretty flat, but they do seem to be holding a little bit of water, and Bonduel giving Leach a lot of hassle as well. Dan Arrow was either attacking or defending there, just slightly offline. There is Stadbader, and Loris Spinelli, yeah, he's on the defensive. He's sitting in the middle of the road. He does not want Brendan Leach to get past him. Leach doesn't need to win this race. It doesn't matter to Brendan. And he hasn't been winning that many races. He hasn't gone for win or bust all year long. He's happy to take second or third because ultimately consistency is what has got him into this championship position. Leach didn't win until the third round of the championship at the Nürburgring. He's only then taken one other victory, first race in Valencia. That compares to Michelotto and Stadbader, who won race 1 at the opening round in Paul Ricard, won race 1 in Spa-Francorchamps, won race 1 at the Nürburgring, and in Valencia on Sunday and yesterday. Only missing out on race 1 that they haven't taken victory. But the race 2s are where they have been hemorrhaging points. And this is race 2. This is the last round of the championship. Spinelli ups his game a little bit, still a second slower than Schandorf, but it isn't doing anything. Stadbader there is almost driving in his mirrors, almost concerned about Loris Cabarrou behind. And now on the defensive, Stadbader. Oh, he's run wide as well. Cabarrou goes up the inside of him. He loses a position. Down to 12th spot, the Belgian. And now Cabarrou puts the car in the middle of the road. There's a bit of Lamborghini coming off there. Somebody has run wide ahead. Yes, there is somebody off the road. There's damage to the front end of, I'm going to say that's Ianello's car. And I think he's been into the back of somebody else. Number 68, it is, of Segu. Hearing from the pits that Spinelli is not happy with his car. Thank you, Dakota, for that one. That it feels a bit odd because it doesn't look anywhere like what it was previously. Spinelli does a 35.2. Schandorf does a 34.0. A second a lap. Spinelli is losing when he was a second lap faster in race 2 last Sunday. What it is doing is keeping this field compressed, and with Leach in 3rd spot there, the gap between Leach time-wise to Stadbader is only 6 seconds. That is doable for Michelotto when he gets into the car. Is that not therefore VSR playing a clever game here? Loris Spinelli, remember, works Lamborghini driver, a multiple winner here in Valencia, well, multiple winner in World Finals, multiple winner in European Championship, and Lamborghini works driver over in America. Surely this is a game. We do have an onboard camera with him. A car that is feeling strange is a car that you wrestle with. How often is Loris Spinelli looking in his mirrors? That's 3 times through the final turn alone. I reckon Dakota's been fed a little bit of misinformation there. And this is all about the championship for VSR. This is all about the time difference between Brendan Leach and Gilles Stadbader, which sits at 6.7 seconds. Yes, there are 10 cars between Brendan Leach and Gilles Stadbader, but once we get into pits and the pit stop window opening in 5 minutes' time, Brendan Leach has to spend 3 extra seconds in the pits to Gilles Stadbader, which means the gap would only be 3.7 seconds. That's very doable for Michelotto to chase down Brendan Leach, especially if Brendan is still in traffic. Especially if Lewandowski ends up ahead of Brendan Leach. So Leach is going to have to be clever here. Loris Spinelli is not going to pit straight away. He's going to stay out longer, I would have thought. Brendan Leach could get out of this traffic pretty quickly. Because the field is so compressed, he would end up, I think, in the gap between Frederick Schandorf and Spinelli. Look at that shot. Ah, it's a shame we cut away, because that was showing just how far Frederick Schandorf was ahead of Loris Spinelli. Schandorf doing a 34.2 on that last lap, his best lap of 33.5. Spinelli is pacing himself on a 35.5. 35.5. 1.2 seconds slower than Frederick Schandorf. I'm sorry, but Loris Spinelli is better and faster than that. There is. Oh, hi, Frederick Schandorf. Nice to see you. Engine problems for that car in round 5. Didn't manage to change the engine for the second race, so didn't score points. Not sure what the issue was yesterday, but retired with a rear left puncture. Could have been suspension damage as well. But Alex Au, I reckon those two could have an overall victory here, such as the way this race is panning out. They've got 12.4 seconds, the gap. Alex Au will be well happy with that. A look at the back end of the Valencia circuit. The additional loop added on in the 1970s. The big Congress Centre up there perched over the circuit. Great vantage point. And a good place also to have lunch, which is what we'll be doing. And Dakota will be also with the gala dinner there on Saturday night. You see, that's not what you want to do. Amui Bondewell opening the door there, letting Lagamali have a look down the inside to him. Such is so close that if you attack, you're also going to have to defend at the same time. Very, very hard to do. Spinelli, just with a little bit more of a gap over Brendan Leach. How concerned is Brendan going to be about this? Stadbader's dropped off the back of Cabarrot. He's only in 12th position. That last lap was a 35.8. I don't know. I know that Brendan Leach is going to be aware that if he tries to attack Spinelli, Spinelli's going to put up a lot of defence. And also Spinelli just up the pace and attack back. This is a... We almost need to speak to Vincent Sospiri, don't we? We need to find out Well, you know, because Spinelli's not going to tell you. But Vincenzo Sospiri, sometime F1 driver and runner of long-time perennial front runners VSR. It's been a curious start to this race. Brendan Leach also has that same problem. If he attacks too hard, he's going to have Bonduelle come up the inside of him. There's no doubt about that. Spinelli kind of sits in the middle of the road through here. It's just a high-speed chess game going on. Leach takes full points in Pro, of course, because the two cars ahead of him are Pro-Ams. So I suppose, in a way, if you look at it like that, Brendan doesn't need to get past Spinelli. But in terms of the gap between himself and Stadbader, he does, because it's still so small. It's still only 6 seconds, which will become 3 after the pit stops. At the end of this lap, pit lane will open. Will Brendan Leach remove himself from this situation as soon as possible? Surely Stadbader will be coming into the pits pretty early on as well. And that will put them on a slightly different track. At least Brendan will then be able to get to the pace that he needs to be. At least his race won't be being controlled by Spinelli. Because don't forget also, when Spinelli gives the car over to Lewandowski, they will be 3 seconds up the road to Brendan Leach because of the situation with the pit stop times. As a single driver, Brendan has to be pit in to pit out 93 seconds, and pit in to pit out for a 2-driver team is 90 seconds. That's why Brendan will spend longer in the pits. The window is open now. Shandorf passes pit lane. Spinelli, oh, no, plays a game. You see, I told you, Dakota, this is all a game. Spinelli dummies to go into the pits. Brendan wants to do something different to that car ahead of him. Spinelli would have never come in so early, though, but I don't know if Brendan was even contemplating it. But Bonduelle now in a position to attack. Further back, Balthazar, Cabarrou and Stadbader are in the pits. So with Stadbader in the pits, Brendan now needs to cover that one off. Can't allow too many laps for Michelotto to be on a different part of the racetrack. Stadbader's done all he needs to do, kept it clean. Nigel Schonderberg coming in the background. Hand over to Jelmer Berman. A lot of cars in the pits. Car 50 causing a collision. Ianello, yes, I thought that was the case. We saw that, didn't we? A bit of bodywork and a bit of damage to the front end of the Lamborghini Rome machine. And 5-second penalty for Ianello. Pit window open. What will Leopard do with Brendan Leach here? It's one of those races that not a lot has happened, but we've been on the edge of our seats for the last 25 minutes. Loris Spinelli dummying. Ah, yes, Brendan, nice work. Comes in late. Amadou Bonduelle hits him. Bonduelle goes into the back of him. There's going to be damage to the diffuser of Brendan Leach's car. I hope it's not too bad, because that will really affect the rear end of his car if there is. The mechanics might not even know it. They dive to the tyres to get the pressures down. But what about the back end? I want to see the rear of the car. Tyre pressure's being adjusted. Brendan doesn't get out. And let's have a look. He was hit in the rear And there is a little bit of damage to the left side there, look. That will flap around at high speed. That will give Brendan the impression of something vibrating. He fires up the car. He's got to sit there 3 more seconds than Michelotto did. I'm surprised that Spinelli hasn't disappeared while on this lap. Spinelli's pace is actually nowhere on this lap, and the job was to hold Brendan Lee back, I would have thought. So he comes into the pits, no more dummying now. Him and Largamali come into the pits. But we wait to see where Leach is in comparison to Michelotto. Where is Brendan's? They're down in 16th position. And Bonduelle obviously right behind him because they had the same pit stop. Moretti part of that battle as well. And I think the gap will be about 3 and a bit seconds between Leach and Michelotto. Spinelli hands over to Lewandowski. In theory, Lewandowski will be ahead of all of those guys I've just listed. Schandorf still leads. He'll need to cover off now Lewandowski and hand that car over potentially to Alex Au, although he may actually want to stay out a bit longer. 5-second penalty for the number 6 car that was in the hands of Gilles Stadbader. He's caused a collision and he's got a 5-second penalty. Suddenly, Michelotto's job is got a huge amount bigger. That is our championship leading car that, as it comes across the line right now, sits about 2.5 seconds back from Brendan Leach. But that is 2.5 seconds plus 5. I don't know how he's going to be able to do that. Michelotto absolutely needs to be on a mission now. He needs to drive out of his skin. At the moment, stuck behind Stefan Tribodini. And they're 2 seconds down the road from Moretti. Here's Bonduelle. Oh, and wow, Lewandowski's come into this battle, so it must have been a bit of a slow stop for Lewandowski, or Brendan Leach's and Bonduelle's outlaps were much, much better than they've managed so far. But Lewandowski, that takes over the car from Spinelli, has dropped 2 positions. As it starts to hot up, let's go down to the pits and join Dakota.
Now, Loris, you said you had a bit of a problem. What's the problem?
I mean, we have issue in the downshifting, especially in the slow corner. I was locking the rear every time, but I mean, hope that for Leva can finish the race in a safe way, and after we see what's the problem.
Did you recognize that the number 6 car was a little bit behind you, the one who's fighting for the championship?
No, I mean, they race, nothing that I can do, especially if I am in the front. So my slower speed was just for the issue, and it is what it is.
Let's see what happens next. Good luck.
Let's do a Twitter poll. How many people believe Loris Spinelli there? Spinelli's pace was 36s by the end of the stint. We're right on board with Lewandowski, and I reckon Lewandowski's going to be able to match that pace. He did a really, really brilliant job. There's no doubt about it. For VSR, the opportunity to influence the race as much as possible. There was no reason why he was driving so defensively on Brendan Leach, especially those last couple of passes past the pits to cover off Brendan, to dummy that he was coming into the pits. You don't do that just because you've got an issue with the downshift. Here's Frederic Schandorf. yet to pit. Dan Arrow in second position and Petrov in third. Those guys still not pitted. We've still got 1 minute and 40 seconds left in the window, and Schandorf dives in. He might have been able to go one extra lap, but it would have been tight. So he comes in to hand over to Alex Au. Dan Arrow will hand over to Abby Eaton, team owner of Rebellio by Benaldi. And Petrov will stay aboard that car, Artem, and drop into the mix of things. It seems as though, yeah, that makes sense. Brendan Leach has actually lost a position to Soderstrom. Largimali Soderstrom car has jumped up as Lewandowski gets bullied off the road. He drops 2 more positions. Michelotto and Moretti get past. But yeah, Brendan Leach, by dint, I think, of that longer pit stop, Soderstrom and Largimali are ahead. So I think that puts them up into second position overall in this race. There is Michelotto. But Michelotto's behind Moretti still. And there's a gap. There's Bonduel, gap, Moretti, Michelotto. Lewandowski running the same pace as Loris Spinelli was pre-pit stop. Drops down the gears. All looks quite good, doesn't it? He's able to select the gear. And it's changing instantly. Now, in terms of the fight for the race, Lewandowski now sits outside. I think we need to see how it shakes out, but I think he sits outside the podium for this race. Lewandowski, no, sorry, second. We've got Abixava and Formignac have just come out of the pits, so they are behind. So it's Alex Au who leads overall, and by 20 seconds. He also leads the Pro-Am category. Lewandowski's second, and Abixava is third, with Formignac and Blanchimont behind. Alex Au can have a really chilled run of things, and I tell you what, they deserve it. They've had such a horrible week here in Vallelunga. They had this problem in race 1 of round 5 with the engine. They used a different car in race 2, but then were told that they weren't allowed to, so got disqualified out of race 2. They then, in race 1 yesterday, had a left rear deflation and had to retire. So there was 0 points, and they came in fighting for that Pro-Am championship. It was a real opportunity, and probably by dint of the compressed schedule, by the fact that they had 1 race in the morning, 1 race in the afternoon on Sunday in round 5, there wasn't really any chance there wasn't much of a chance to do any real proper repair, and there certainly wasn't a chance to change the engine on their original car. And so now they're back to the original car with a new engine, but then they get a puncture in race 1. There's Jelmer Berman. Now he will be on a mission because he is one of few pro drivers in the Pro-Am category at the moment. So Berman's going to be moving his way up in pursuit of a podium. In fact, he's already gone past. That's him passing Blanchimont in the 92. And that looked like Formignac. I think there was the Czech car on the outside of the circuit there. Yes, it was. So Formignac drops down from 3rd position, so from 4th position, and Berman moves up 2 positions in 2 corners. Hearing from the pits that it's just cosmetic to Brendan Leach's car. He's not feeling it too badly, so that's good news. But we might get a safety car here because the Mechanic Motorsport 66 has ground to a halt on the outside of, I'm going to say that is turn 7. Berman moves up to 4th. Lewandowski and Abakasava second in a battle for second in Pro-Am. This is your leader in Pro-Am. And he has lost 5-6 seconds to Soderstrom. Soderstrom second position. Leach is only 1.1 back. Bonduelle 1.7 back. Michelotto 1.4 back. He's now got past Moretti. The problem is Michelotto needs to get past Brendan Leach and 5 seconds up the road. That's how they can win this championship. On board with Lewandowski. Oh, and he's properly been nerfed there. That is Stefan Trebadini, sorry. Hearing from the pits that Formacek has pulled that car off the side of the circuit because of brake failure. So rather than having a mammoth accident, makes sense. 15 minutes remaining for Alex Au to hold on here. 13.7 the gap. I say hold on, that's for the overall victory. I think he's pretty safe in Pro-Am because Lewandowski is down in 10th spot. Abksava is dropping back on Lewandowski as well. So I think Pro-Am is pretty much done. There's Brendan Leach. Leach is second behind Soderstrom. And Michelotto is slowly closing in on him, but it's only slowly. And the thing about Brendan Leach is he really plays the percentages. He won't do anything more than he needs to. Actually, that car is pulled off in a relatively safe spot, so the tractor can get to work without too much worry. Michelotto. Next target is Amélie Bonduelle. Oh, and the car breaks away from him. The rear end breaks away. How much did Gilles Stadbader take out of those tyres in the opening stint to hold on to where he was? Bonduelle has a little bit of damage to the front left corner of that car, and that was obviously coming into the pits. So I wonder whether Bonduelle's been hurt more than Brendan Leach, because bodywork flapping at 270 odd kilometers an hour through the Curva Grande won't feel that great. You can see that little bump on the apex at turn 2. Just unsettles the car slightly. It's nothing really to worry about, but I tell you what, if you're an AM driver, that's not much fun. Dropping that gap down to less than half a second between Bonduelle and Michelotto. Be putting these guys back onto the podium, third in class. But they come into this race a point and a half only ahead of Brendan Leach. And the gaps between each of these positions at the head of the field are greater than that. Leach second in class right now, which would be 12 points. Third in class, if Michelotto can get past him, Bonduelle would give him 10 points. So if it stayed like that, it would swing. Brendan Leach would win by half a point. However, there is a 5-second penalty on that 6 car. Let's not forget that. And that 5-second penalty is absolutely crucial, because it would drop Michelotto behind Moretti. Just one position, but if he gets past Bonduelle, it would be 2 positions. There's Laura Spinelli watching on. Lewandowski looks more and more safe in that second position. 10th spot. Abukasava dropping further down. I think he's going to lose a position soon to Jelmer Berman. Berman is the next target for Abukasava. We saw them on the podium in race 1, I think it was, of the weekend. Berman and Nigel Schondervoort. Oh, Michelotto down the inside on Bonduelle. Was there contact between the two of them? Muscles Bonduelle off the road, and Moretti inherits a position as well. Bonduelle's got a penalty for the driver change being too short. Just 0.6 of a penalty isn't much. But Michelotto, in 10 minutes now, needs to establish a 5-second gap. And actually needs to get past Brendan Leach as well, to be honest. Safety car is out. That is going to kill Michelotto. He needs these gaps. Or is it? There's the move. Down the inside. It's too late for Bonduelle to defend now, even if there is contact between the two. And I don't know if there was, to be honest. It was too late to defend. But we've got the safety car out on circuit. And that is going to bring Michelotto onto the tail of Brandon Leach. I don't know why I've suddenly called him Brandon. He's not called Brandon, he's called Brendan. Presumably this is to do with the recovery of Formagnac. I haven't seen any other cars off the road. Can't see any reason as to why we've gone a safety car. Dougie, the 15 car that was Dougie Bolger's and now is Robert Greenwood's is maybe missing in the final sector, the number 15.
5-second time penalty for Tribodini for causing a collision. Yeah, that was on Lewandowski, wasn't it? There's the drone shot of the final sector of the lap. Oh yes, there is a car in the gravel at the S's, and that must be Robert Greenwood. So that's the reason for the safety car. I noticed also on timing screens that Brendan Leach has got a penalty of about 0.6 of a second for a quick pit stop. But if Leach loses a position to Michelotto, then Michelotto wins the championship. There is Robert Greenwood, new to Lamborghini Super Trofeo. He's been dragged out of the gravel trap down at the S's, and therefore we will be able to go racing next time, giving us around 6.5, 7 minutes. Oh. Suddenly, I feel a bit nervous. Alex Au should have won this race, clearly. The advantage that Frederick Schandorf had created, he was under no pressure. But Soderstrom will now give him that pressure. Brendan Leach in third position can let Michelotto get past and can follow him, because Michelotto has that 5-second penalty. He can't let Michelotto establish more than a 5-second advantage. And that, I think, is the way that Brendan Leach will be thinking about this. Let Michelotto dive bomb him, let him take the risks, and then if he has to be ahead,
just follow him. Keep the gap down from 5 seconds. But Alex Au, at the start of this race, is going to be the cork in the bottle. And there's going to be a lot of tripping up behind. It's the end of the European season. It's the final round of the championship. No more Mr. Nice Guy. They do have to preserve the cars, of course, for the World Finals over the weekend. They don't want to give their mechanics too much work to do. Qualifying will be tomorrow morning. Still got the whole afternoon, though, I suppose, and the evening. Still need to win this championship. Still Brendan Leach, who is in the advantageous position. Third in the race, ahead of his championship rival, Michelotto. We're going to have about 5.5 minutes remaining of this final round of the championship. Alex Au leads, Soderstrom in second. But Au is the AM in the Pro-Am lineup that leads this race. Off we go. He's done a really good restart, has Alex Au. Little bit of understeer, little bit of oversteer kicks in mid-corner. And off they go again. Green flag flies, 5.5 minutes remaining. Soderstrom fancies a victory here today. Brendan Leach will be more concerned about that white car behind Michelotto than he will be about the black car ahead, Oliver Soderstrom. Soderstrom looks to the inside. Oh, and he goes through. Alex Au doesn't even trouble the apex. Let's one, let's two, let's three cars past. 4 will come through now. He needs to not lose too many more positions because Lewandowski is in the queue as well. Soderstrom leads from Leach, from Michelotto. Moretti went through. Bonduel went through as well. Au drops to 6th. Lewandowski is now 11th because he's dropped a position behind Ibrahim, the Brazilian. Brendan Leach defends. Needs to not do that. You do not want to be turned off the road. That's the onboard view of Lewandowski in the second of the VSR cars. The first of which, though, is the one we want to watch. It's going to be very hard for Michelotto to make a 5-second gap in 4.5 minutes. I wonder if the team have told Brendan Leach about that penalty. Brendan seems to be driving defensively here. I know he doesn't want to win it because of a penalty. Doesn't want to win the championship by dint of a 5-second penalty. As another one is awarded, I think we've already covered that one off, to Stefan Tribodini. 4 minutes on the clock. 3 laps, I reckon, then, as they come over the line. Oliver Soderstrom leads. He has a gap of 1 second over Leach. Then it's Michelotto. Michelotto doesn't have to worry too much about Moretti behind. Moretti is not really in this party. And there's a little battle going on, I think, as Petrov and Au go side by side into Chimney 1. Yellow Berman further back, losing a position to Mattiasson in 14th. I wondered whether Berman would actually get onto the terms with Lewandowski. Lewandowski will be more concerned about catching Alex Au. Could be very, very interesting in the Pro-Am category, but we're obviously focusing on the Pro category. The leaders, the winners of Europe, fighting it out. Lights flashing from Michelotto. The team haven't told Brendan Leach about this penalty, have they? There's no way that Brendan Leach would allow Michelotto a 5-second advantage in 2.5 minutes, in 2 laps. But Brendan seems to want to fight this. No, 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 no. Through the S's, and Michelotto runs too deep. It's not really a place where you want to overtake, and Brendan proves it. Gets back ahead. Mattia Michelotto improvising massively. I wonder whether that penalty's been rescinded then, because Gilles Stadbader looks really nervous as well. Sure, there was a penalty given to the number 6. I'm sure this doesn't matter. I may be wrong. I'm sorry if I am. Over the line with 2 minutes and 10 seconds remaining. There's definitely 2 laps in this, but Michelotto runs a bit wide and then clobbers the curb on the entrance. There's the dive down the inside at the S's and only just about kept the car on the black stuff, did Michelotto, and Brendan was able to come back at him. The emotions down there in the pit lane as the teams, the respective energies watch on. Brendan's got himself a little bit of an advantage here. Confirmation from the pits that there is definitely a penalty outstanding on that Michelotto car. So it doesn't matter. Let him go. Don't worry yourself. Well, I think Brendan wants to win this. There is Gilles Stadbader. And I'm afraid, I don't know what the contact was for. It was just causing a collision. We never saw a collision, and it doesn't really look like that number 6 car has got much damage to it. Michelotto back onto the tail as we go on to the final lap. Soderstrom leads by 2.5 seconds in the Pro-Am category. Au is only just ahead of Lewandowski and Berman. There's only a second separating the 3 cars, would you believe? But quite rightly, in the Pro category, Brendan Leach loses the rear end going into Chimney. It's going to run wide through Chimney 2, but gets the car back to the apex. Brendan wants to win this on the road. He doesn't want to have to rely upon that 5-second penalty. There's hardly any damage to the front end of that VSR car. Race control giving him a penalty anyway. They run wide over the curbs, using all the track and more. Late dive from Michelotto down the inside. Brendan Leach is going to do the switchback though. There's a little bit of hip and shoulder on the exit. And Michelotto holds on, but there's a yellow flag flying. Where was that yellow flag? Was that an overtake under yellow flag conditions? There's obviously a car off the circuit somewhere. There is a 5-second penalty to the number 6 car, and it's just being reminded. I didn't see causing a collision with who. It did flash up very quickly on our screen. Michelotto's got himself up ahead. Here is Oliver Soderstrom and Largim Ali. They are going to be the victors. That will be their first victory of the season. Round the final corner, Ollie Soderstrom takes the victory. Second position is going to go to Brendan Leach as Michelotto gets himself that 5-second penalty applied. And that gives the championship to Leopard. There's Kieron Lee. There's the team. Yes. And there is Gilles Stadbader. Gilles didn't do enough in the first stint. And then mainly the issue being the penalty, and actually Brendan Leach has been dropped to position as well, presumably because it was so close between Leach and Moretti. Moretti has been promoted up into second. Leach drops down to third. But where is number 6? Michelotto's dropped down to 13th. That's not right. It was. Such was the closeness of the group behind. Michelotto goes from second down to 13th with 2 time penalties. With 2 time penalties. He had 2 5-second time penalties for causing a collision. That's why it flashed up on the screen a second time, because there were 2. Which means the second one was Mattia Michelotto's responsibility. There's still more changes going on the timing screens as Tribodini gets his penalty applied. But Michelotto ends up down in, well, it's changed to 11th. Why has it changed to 11th? Somebody else has had a time penalty applied, I think. And 11th is one of the worst positions of their year. It's sad that it's come down to penalties, really, because it's been a mega championship. It's even sadder that the front end of that car doesn't even look like it's been in contact with anybody, and yet, according to the timing screen, they've been penalised twice for 2 separate bits of contact. And Brendan Leach, therefore, even though he drops a position as well for a slightly fast pit stop, is your champion. Yet another New Zealander. In Asia, New Zealanders have dominated the Super Trofeo. Chris van der Drift and Mark Giltrap. In Europe, Brendan Leach, who's been a resident of Germany for the last couple of years, ever since COVID, been learning his craft in these Lamborghinis with Leopard, absolutely an integral part of that team, and running in the GT3 series as well. Teammate to CrowdStrike. There's Moretti. Moretti on the road finished in 4th position, but he's ended up 2nd, would you believe? So him and Balthazar will be very happy with that. It was a crazy race, wasn't it? The whole of the first race was all bunched up, and because of the safety car, so was the end. That 61 car was kind of nowhere in the first half of the race, and they're very much brought back into the mix of things thanks to the safety car of Robert Greenwood that happened just there in the S's. Into the pits comes your champion. Brendan Leach jumps aboard the roof of his Super Trofeo. He is the champion. He's done it. He's worked 3 years to get to this point. And I don't know how he coped with that pressure. Now the next focus. He's only won the European Championship. He's got some pros to beat over the weekend as well. That's a big moment for Soderstrom. Won the opportunity to race in Lamborghini Super Trofeo after a scholarship and to test for target. And he has finally repaid that.
Really strange. They would pass his head again. No chance.
A little bit of a debrief. Interesting. Brendan Leach saying, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. I wonder whether Alex Au let Lewandowski through. In the end, Alex Au retired out the race again, would you believe? How we missed that. Alex Au ended up will not even be on the podium again. Let's go down to the podium then. Dakota is, I believe, with your champion.
I am indeed with the champion. I'm very, very happy to do. Congratulations, Brendan. Right at the end, you know, we were hand in mouth. You must have been as well, but congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, I can't thank the team Leipert Motorsport enough for giving me an amazing car all season. My supporters that have been with me all the way through this, and yeah, I'm speechless. It's mega.
So what does it feel like to be a European champion?
Yeah, it's my first championship, so hopefully it's the first of many, and you know, once again, I just cannot thank my team enough, and my supporters at home, DLITM, and everybody else that's been with me on this journey, including some new teammates out there, because there was some pretty nasty play at the start.
I'm sure you're going to celebrate tonight, but hopefully not too much, because the World Finals are still resting tomorrow. Are you in it to win it as well?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We go guns blazing tomorrow, but yeah, let's see, maybe qualifying's a little bit interesting tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
I think it's going to be pretty tricky. It's going to be about New Zealand, that's for sure. Even on the helmet of Brendan Leach, the Gill Trap Group sponsoring. There was the dive from Michelotto. That was one attempt to get past, but it would have been in vain anyway. There were 10-second time penalty given to that car in the end for 2 separate bits of contact. And I don't know whether Brendan knew anything about it, because he was defending really, really hard. In the end, the 6 car ended up in 12th position. That would have been the question, wouldn't it? Did you know that you were actually fighting with a car that was 10 seconds down the road? And that's the emotion from Gilles Stadbader. They're not even on the podium this time.
Oh man. What? Spinelli was just like, well, yeah, on purpose. Where was he? Lap 1. Lap 1. I think I gotta go.
You can hear in the background the discussions. There is no doubt in my mind or many other minds that Spinelli was playing a team game there. Here is Brendan Leach. He's not going to be on the top step of the podium, but he is your champion. Moretti and Balthazar join him in second. I reckon that's one of their better results of the year as well. Now, they did have a couple of wins earlier on in the season, but it is the first win for Largim Ali and Ollie Söderström. National anthem's playing out for the team, of course, rather than the drivers. Brendan Leach picks up his trophy. He's no stranger to the podium. He's had a lot of podiums this last year. He came over in 2020 to Europe to start his motorsport career after many, many years in single-seaters in New Zealand and New Zealand alone. And then COVID struck and he got stuck away from his family in a very strange country in comparison to New Zealand, in comparison to Invercargill. But when motorsport began again, he had the opportunity from Leopard Motorsport to get used to the Super Trofeo, to get used to the Lamborghini, and he has been true to Lamborghini ever since 2022 in Pro-Am, in Pro this year. And it's all his own doing to take the championship. What is next for this young New Zealander? What is it about New Zealand? They're just so quick. The roads are really cool, but actually the speed limits are quite low. There's a lot of very good racing drivers that come out of it. Brendan Leach wins the championship ahead of Matteo Michelotto and Gilles Stadbader in the end, scoring very little points today. Balthazar and Moretti moving up to third in the championship, with that ahead of Bonduel, Largim Ali and Söderström in fifth. Could have been Hugo de Wilde and Rodrigo Testa, but a quiet day after that spin on the first turn. So in Pro-Am, it completely changed, didn't it, after the safety car? We've got Jelmer Berman and Nicholas Schondervoort, Zonzini and Colombini in third, Jelmer Berman and Nicholas Schondervoort second, and then Lewandowski and Spinelli victors. What on earth happened to Alex Au? And what can they do to change their luck for the World Finals? We really thought that Alex Au was going to win the race overall until the safety car, and then the safety car came out, bunched them all up together. We heard Brendan Lee thanking Alex Au, saying thanks for letting me past effectively, but they didn't complete the last 2 laps and they ended up retiring. And so Spinelli and Lewandowski takes another victory. They didn't need it. They'd already won the championship. So that was mission accomplished from Spinelli's point of view. VSR doing all he could for VSR and for teammates Stabbader and Michelotto, and ending up taking the victory in Pro-Am. Good second stint, therefore, for Zonzini to get himself up into 3rd position. I wondered whether Berman would make it, and he did. But it was a Lewandowski and Spinelli win. So they extended their championship. Colombini and Zonzini moved up ahead of Alex Au and into 3rd position. Au drops to 4 on the same points as Berman and Schondervall, but with victories earlier on in the season. Thanks for joining us for the European Championships. It has been absolutely the greatest entertainment you could possibly get in motorsport. Saturday and Sunday, though, we combine Europe with Asia and America and go World Finals racing. How will these guys stack up against the rest of the world? Find out after lunches on Saturday and Sunday. But for now, goodbye.